Hello BabyQueers and welcome back to my channel. It is time for another story time, which sounds relaxing but probably isn't going to be on this subreddit. But either way, you know the drill. Grab something to drink, some water or some tea or whatever else you like to drink. Sit back and enjoy some stories. Are you hydrated? Good, let's go. I'm simply done with her. So, Kay, 26, is my 26 ex-best friend. She was a terrible friend. She dropped out of my wedding a week before with a ton of lies to and about me to others, and we caught her in those lies, which is why I no longer talk to her. That and sleeping/ghosting the best man doesn't help either. However, this story takes the cake. She would constantly ask me for drives and money, and I'd help her because she was my best friend and a single mom of my goddaughter. Heck, I bought them all new stuff when their basement apartment flooded. I babysat her child every day for free because I was on maternity leave anyways. I would do anything for them despite having two kids of my own, one being autistic. So my wedding day came, and it was an hour before it was to start. I was in my dress, everything set up, 2 hours away from home. And I get this text, "Hey, so my ex needs me to come pick up my daughter. Can you drive me? Also, if not, can I borrow $50 for a taxi?" I was livid. She knew it was my wedding day and I was hours away. So I sent back, "Hey Kay, no I can't do either, I'm getting married in an hour," and left it at that. Then I turned off my phone and we had the wedding. It was beautiful and everything was perfect, especially my hubby. I turned on my phone after getting home and there was 17 missed calls and this message from Kay. "I don't appreciate you doing absolutely nothing for me or my daughter ever. You're a terrible friend who can't even help me in a time of need and I'm sick of it. You could have put your wedding on hold to help your friend and instead you care more about yourself. I hope you have a good life because I will no longer be in it." I was livid. Done nothing for them? What the hell? I did everything. In the following days, I got tons of messages from other friends and her ex telling me what a terrible friend I was and how could I ignore a medical emergency. I was never told it was a medical emergency. None of the messages or voicemails had said that. I sent screenshots to all those friends and they shut up. And I never talked to her since. However, recently she had the nerve to ask to see my kids and I simply said no. Okay, that's fair. Listen. The entitlement. Like, of course, if you're friends, you can ask them if they can drive you or if they can take care of your kids. But since you're friends, it's also kind of assumed that you do the same thing for them. So maybe if they need something, right, you would do that for them or babysit their kids sometimes. Because if you're friends, that's kind of a thing you can do. But in this story, it just seems very one-sided of the ex-friend just constantly asking for money and drives and a babysitter for free. Do you know how expensive babysitters are? Listen. And then you know it's their wedding. You literally were invited and got taken out of it like a week before. You know it's their wedding. And you have the nerve to pull this shit. Right. Yeah, get new friends, I guess, because she's really not worth it anymore, apparently. And that is how you have your child move out. Warning, long post. Okay, this is my first ever post on the subreddit. I just turned 18 a few days ago, and in the last 3 years, everything that's been happening in my house has seriously agitated, angered, irritated the fuck out of me. During the pre-COVID times, I spent most of my time in schools and after-school libraries. Not at home, I was shielded by all the negativity inside my house, but since COVID struck and I started my preparation for the entrance exams with an online coaching program, I have seen an environment I never imagined finding myself in. My mom and dad are not bad people. My mom was raised by stringent but really lovely parents. My father, however, lived in a village with 18 brothers and 10 sisters. So they were all free and were never taught much by their parents, hence my mother turned out to be a perfect lady. However, my father turned out to be one of the most irresponsible, careless, and a little too funny in every scenario. My father's side of the family always hated my mother. Since she's now living in a large joint family, she was constantly humiliated, mentally harassed, and whatnot by my uncles, grandma, and aunts. But she always knew she was not in the wrong. She wasn't, and she kept holding it all in. But that trauma made her believe that she was the only one right in this whole family of assholes, which it kinda was. She lived with so many imperfect people for so long that she started thinking of herself and her decisions to be perfect every time. So after she had me, I grew up to have many of my mother's traits in me, my father's humors, and very little carelessness and irresponsibility. But not to brag, I am not only one of the most behaved children in my whole family, but also the whole neighborhood. We live in a very shitty area. So, once I hit 15 and COVID struck, I started spending my entire time in the house, which is when all hell broke loose. 1. I study on my own time, during the night since there's no school, and do my chores accordingly, but my mom wants me to do it all how she thinks I should. When I try explaining to her why I like to do my things a certain way, she doesn't listen because she thinks her decisions are perfect. 2. I sometimes skip some unnecessary chores at the instance to take time for my hobbies. I love to read novels and write too. She nags me constantly to these minor things because she thinks her decisions are perfect. 3. She is convinced that I am a photocopy of my father, that I, just like my father, make wrong decisions 99% of the time and she needs to interfere in them. 4. Whenever I lose my shit and confront her, she says, "I'm doing all of this for you," and eventually starts crying. And I become the monster kid of the house who makes his mother cry. 5. She clings to a mistake I made for freaking weeks, constantly nagging me on that. It happened once and I learned from my mistake. Just leave it already, for God's sake. 6. When I go reticent, not saying a word and doing my tasks without bothering anyone, she nags me, saying that I'm just trying to make her feel bad. No, I just want some goddamn peace. 7. She keeps saying, "Hey God, I did all I could, but still, my children turned out this way." Whenever I say, "Look at all the other kids out there, and then look at me," she says, "Why don't you start hanging out and do those things too? That's what you want to do, right?" She keeps saying, "Our parents used to hit us like this, like that, blah blah blah. Look how strict parents during the old times were. Compared to them, we're so cool and lenient. You will realize all this when you become a parent too." Hell no, I won't. In fact, I'm taking notes on how I will not parent my child and how I will not become like you. Today, the string just broke. I've been out for the past 2 days with my brother. Today I come home, and since it's Sunday and I've been having cheat days for the past 2 days, I decided to chill this Sunday night and get back to the regime on Monday morning. I told my mom I'll be ordering something and she just lost it. All the same old bullshit, exaggerating of how bad my eating habits are, how I have been outing days and I can't order anything today. Look, I get her concern, but the way a situation is perceived by someone doesn't depend solely upon the point of the situation, but the way the point is presented. She could have talked nicely, I would have told her my plans, but no, that is not the way things work in this household. And then I talked back and she got super violent. Everything stuffed in me since those 3 years erupted. I threw my phone, it was a broken phone, it didn't work, on the dinner table and said, "I don't know how I will manage my studies, don't know how I will manage my diet, simultaneously with it, and I don't know how I will do something I've never done, but no matter what, I am moving out." Again, I am yet to actually meet someone who has like a really good relationship with their parents. But this just seems amazing. And this just seems a very common, actually, of parents not trusting their kids at all. And just thinking, like, of course, if you have like more lived experience, you tend to know more. But at the same time, you need to let your kids kind of make their own mistakes as long as they're not like in serious danger. You know, because if you just tell them what to do and what not to do, they're not gonna learn. They're just gonna think you're bossy. So honestly, yelling at them or constantly belittling them is kind of not the way to go. And I know it's like very hard to judge what the situation is like from like one story, even though it was long, but still it's kind of hard to constitute that feeling and all those feelings from like the past 3 years into a text. So it's kind of actually hard to tell what it's like, but listen, you're not a little kid anymore and you kind of starting to figure out what's best for you. And I'm not saying never listen to your parents, obviously, because again, with lived experience comes like more knowledge and more wisdom, but still, this is not the way to go. Entitled mother blackmails daughter to have a relationship with her. I, 30 female, have had a very rocky relationship with my mother. To begin with, my mother, entitled mother, is a mandatory reporter now, which is ironic since I was taking away from her and giving to my father at 14 because of physical and sexual abuse happening in her care, the physical at her hand. So the backstory, as an adult now, I have 2 children aged 11 and 12. The entitled mother has never babysat or kept them without my supervision. Although I have never kept them from seeing her, now that they're old enough I do let them choose if they see her or not. They, however, are uncomfortable around her, so they do not spend much time with her, nor will I force them to. I've never fully cut her off, but I am very low contact with her because of the continued emotional abuse and gaslighting towards me. So, now on to the current issue with my entitled mother. 2 nights ago, she called me while she was intoxicated, and on top of basic yelling at me, she was also bringing up my traumas and triggered a PTSD attack. Then, while I was having the attack and my partner tried to calm me down, my entitled mother began claiming she has never done anything wrong, it wasn't her fault, and told me to just shut up and get over it already. Then, after beginning the conversation with, "You're such an amazing mother and I love you," she told myself and my partner that I am a horrible mother and that I don't love my partner. Entitled mother moved on quickly to accusing me of being on drugs. Her reasoning was that I got so upset out of nowhere during the conversation, and being on drugs would be the only thing that could explain that behavior. You know, not the PTSD attack while my own mother screaming at me to shut up, get over it, and that I'm a terrible mother and don't love my partner. So I hung up and texted her to never speak to me again. So my mother decided to blackmail me by telling me she's a mandated reporter, and if I didn't start having a closer relationship with her and make my children come see her more and let her keep them by herself, she would report me to the DHS. Entitled mother said that she would say that I am on drugs and being incompetent to care for my children because I have epilepsy from a head injury I sustained in her care as a child. The allegation is completely false, and the only thing I am on is epilepsy medication prescribed by my doctor. But just in case, I bought a full spectrum drug test, took it in front of a witness, and took a picture of the result. I'm clean, and have the entire thing on video, making sure not to show anything inappropriate. I'm perfectly capable of taking care of my children, and they're both happy, healthy, and well-rounded. On top of all this, my entitled mother has also stated she will take me to court to get grandparents' rights to get my children, whether I like it or not. So my entitled mother is literally blackmailing me to make myself and my children have a relationship with her that we do not want. But I also don't want to put them through DHS investigations and interviews and a whole ass court case, which could end in them being forced to see her anyway. I am terrified she will treat my children the same way she treated me, and I have been a mama bear trying to keep anything bad that happened to myself as a child to never happen to them. So I'm gathering evidence of the blackmail and evidence that I'm a perfectly capable mother and evidence that my children are cared for emotionally, financially, physically, and medically. Then on Monday, I'm going to go to my local DHS office and let them know about everything going on, get the jump on my entitled mother myself, and then go no contact. Details. She told me this via a drunken phone call, the blackmail. She accused me of drug use via text after I texted her to no longer contact me. Her exact text message was, "Get off the drugs, I can't help your kids if you're not coherent, yes, use the wrong your, and then, OP, I'm a mandated reporter, if you don't want to visit or call, I can't change that, but." All of these were said after the "don't contact me ever again." She says she knows I'm doing all of this to punish her for something she didn't do and that I am playing my partner, but he didn't buy into her BS and is being very supportive. How can someone have so little self-awareness? Like, I would expect more self-awareness and compassion from a literal teenager. But the fact that you're an adult and pull this stupid shit. Like, I know it sucks. Of course you want to see your kids and your grandkids. But listen, if you mess up this badly and keep traumatizing them and literally harass them and abuse them, you kind of lost any right to see them or your grandkids, because I can honestly understand her not wanting to see the kids, you know? Like, if you know what this person is like, because at this point we've gotten a glimpse of what this person is like and we already don't like her, I can understand wanting to keep your kids from that. And yeah, I think you're kind of doing the right thing, kind of collecting evidence, and I'm pretty sure you can find more text messages of her just going off. So I'm glad your partner's supportive and knows what's going on, because literally that's gonna help you massively. Entitled parents invade my space at a park. This is partly me problem because I let it happen and avoided conflict. But that being said, there is an entire park and playground there. Do you have to play with your child way down here in the back corner of the park next to a secluded bench I'm sunning, sitting and smoking on? And what's worse is that they got close enough to me that I could hear them with my headphones in. Then they lingered, feet away from the bench, talking loudly and taking casual photos. I am not a total ass, so I covered my shoulders and put out the fire. But they clearly saw that I was enjoying my day off. Then I was sitting there waiting for them to move on, but they didn't. They also didn't settle in. They just stood around near me. So I moved to the shady grass and eventually they walked off. But really, why? What the hell? So rude. Yeah, okay. I wouldn't have acted differently because you just know that these are not the kind of people. Like, if someone's like standing there and you ask them nicely, like, hey, could you maybe move somewhere else? You know, there are people who will probably be like, oh yeah, sure, I just want to take a picture of this plant and then move on. Whatever, if that's what they want to do. But you just know that these parents would have gone off on you and you could not have like, your enjoying your day off would have ended very quickly at that point, because they would have like gone off on how you're wearing too little clothes, how that's irresponsible, or how smoking in public is irresponsible, and all that kind of bullshit. So I can understand not going off on them, but still, why are people like this? My god. Mom gets very upset that I'm independent and don't always take her advice. I'm 23 female and my mom is 54. I'm the only child of my parents and have always been close with both of them. I graduated college in May 22 and I started dating my current boyfriend in April 22. I've been working as a teacher since August 22. I've become very independent, from making my own money to living with my boyfriend. I feel like this upsets and angers my mom, and I feel like she wants to control me even though I am a responsible adult. Since October, I've had a plethora of medical issues which haven't resolved from a general surgeon's intervention a few times. I asked the surgeons back in November if seeing a specialist would have been beneficial, but they did not think so at the time, so I followed their orders. The whole time, my mom was very opinionated about the whole thing, and has always lacked trust in doctors for whatever reason. She was upset and still reminds me to this day, despite it being March, that I should have advocated for myself more and seen the specialist, constantly making me feel bad about it and how I prolonged any healing. I explained that I obviously can't go back in time and have to make the best of the situation now, but it's never a sufficient answer. Another thing with her is drinking. My boyfriend, 27 male, and I are clearly of legal drinking age and like to enjoy a drink or two with our meals. Neither of us, nor any family members, have struggled with alcohol or made any poor decisions regarding drinking. She constantly grills me about how she doesn't see the need for us to have a drink so often, and has even said the same to and about my half-brother and his wife. She tries to say that drinking is impeding me from healing from my medical issues, despite getting a green light from the doctor. Today, I explained to her how she does not have to understand or support every decision I make, and back in January, I asked her to please only give advice if and when I ask for it. If I don't take it, she gets frustrated, passive-aggressive, and says, no one cares, or I know I'm the asshole, about her and her opinion. She even started crying because my grandparents and brother don't always take her advice, that she gives without anyone asking. Then took that out on me too. She told me today she's going to give advice and her opinion regardless because she's my mother and can, and try to make it seem like I said that they have not supported me whatsoever. Once I stood up for myself and told her that I don't owe them an explanation for my decisions and assured them that I am responsible, she hung up. I'm at a loss right now. I'm sure she thinks that because I'm 23, have a job, and my boyfriend who's older, that I think I know it all, but I'm tired of all this. Any advice from anyone experiencing anything similar? Okay. I'm very much not in a similar situation. I know what it's like to grow up with a parent who thinks they're always right and isn't supportive of different opinions, because that already sucks. But if you're a child or a teenager, you can't say too much about it because you still live in their house and honestly you still have very little experience. Even though I know, especially me as a teenager, I thought I was just so smart and so independent, and I was really, but still, looking back at it now, it's tricky. But still, you're in your 20s. You have your own job, you got through college, you live on your own, you work, like, I don't know what to say. Except for maybe, honestly, if she doesn't want to stop being so opinionated and constantly try to insert yourself in her life, that maybe you should like lower contact for a while. Because honestly, I'm not even sure she's aware she's doing this, but honestly, she doesn't seem self-aware of the fact that she is literally just overwhelming. Like, it's not just trying to be supportive and like helping out your child, because there's that, which is obviously fine, or asking if your child wants advice is like totally fine, but just always being like, okay, no, you did the wrong thing and you should have done it differently, is so rude and so unhelpful, literally. So maybe go lower contact or low contact to kind of help her see that you can live your life on your own, because honestly, you're just gonna get more agitated if you keep being in contact with her this much. Entitled parents let their kids loose in a stranger's apartment. I had a set of entitled parents, strangers, visit my apartment to inspect a couch I'm selling. This couch has been kept in near original condition, as I know I would have been reselling it soon. The entitled parents brought their kids into my apartment and let him crawl all over the couch with his shoes on, which has left dirt marks on the fabric. The cherry on top, they didn't even end up buying the couch. No, of course they didn't, because now it's dirty. Oh, this is frustrating. This is so frustrating. Because honestly, like, you don't want complete strangers who are going to be inside your apartment for like 2 minutes to look at this couch to take their shoes off, right? Like, when I had people come to my apartment, like to my old apartment when I was moving, to kind of look around if they want the apartment, I didn't want to ask them to take their shoes off either, so I wouldn't do it if I was selling a couch. But still, my god, why? Like, I understand you want to take your kid, but still, letting your kid crawl over strangers' furniture is just rude. I mean, if you decide that you don't want a couch, that's fine. Maybe you want a different couch, or maybe it doesn't fit in your apartment, or whatever. That's fine. But don't let your kid crawl over it. What are you doing? Mom stole my money and berated me for wanting it back. Okay, it's been a long time since I posted here last, but as a quick summary, the entire side of my mom's family is entitled fuck-ups, and so is my mom. I was doing great for a few months because I don't see her too often, and yesterday she acted up. So yesterday I was on some urgent business and I went to grab some cash from my wallet, only to find it empty, even to the pennies. But thanks to the power of technology, I managed to pay with a QR code, so it's all good. Long story short, I asked my mom if she took some money off my wallet, and she said yes, with no remorse. And then I asked nicely for her to return it back, and she said she spent it already, and to not make a big deal since it's only $100. I told her that I need it for my transportation fees. I have a fear of telling her that I'm short on money, for reasons that will shortly be clear, and she yelled at me for being wasteful and that I should save my money. I once again asked her to return the money, and she said, later I'll do it. But when I had to transfer some money to her, she wants me to pay up ASAP. The hypocrisy. She returned the money back, but since then, she's been calling me a stingy child who's ungrateful to her mother who raised her, and the fact that I asked for the money back, mind you that the money that she stole from my wallet, makes me a sinful child with no faith in God. Alright, it's been a few hours since, but her words keep reverberating through my head. I'm sorry, what? Do not take money from other people's wallet if you haven't asked them about it. Like, if she's seen your wallet and she called you and be like, hey, can you lend me some money? Like, is it okay if I take this amount of money out of your wallet? And you say yes. That's a different story. That's fine. You know? Like, if she would have asked nicely, even if you're short on money, you probably would have said, okay, yeah, sure, you're my mother. Like, of course I can, like, lend you some money. Or whatever. But what is this bullshit? What is this bullshit? And also, when did God come into this? And since when is a child standing up for themselves and demanding that you don't steal money from them, or that you at least return it after stealing it? Sinful behavior that isn't fearful of God? It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. Is my mom toxic? I'm 15 years old and recently I've been questioning a lot of things. My parents got divorced the first time when I was about 6 years old and again a few months later. My whole childhood I had extreme separation anxiety with my mom and I would have had a panic attack whenever I had to sleep over anywhere, including my dad's house. When I was about 10 years old, my mom dated a narcissist, they are no longer together, and forced me to go live with my dad in another city with his new now wife. I still live at my dad's and see my mom every other weekend, which has forced me to create my own opinions other than the ones I learned from my mom. Here are a few examples of things my mom has done or said that rubbed me the wrong way. She's never really given me any privacy and even told me when I was younger that I have to tell her everything because I was too young to not tell her things. She used to work at my school, so she would get every bit of info on what I did from my teachers. She also gone through my camera roll when I left my phone unattended and proceeded to tell me to delete photos because apparently a selfie of a 13-year-old sticking their tongue out is a little inappropriate. She's gone through my group chats and gave lectures to my friends if she found something she didn't like. Another thing is that she's always telling my personal info like my weight, grades, and friendship problems to everyone, even if I specifically told her not to. She constantly judges everyone, especially by their appearance. We will be in public and she points out to me how a girl is dressed like a hooker or tells me how bad someone's hair or makeup is. She does the same thing with my friends and tells me things she doesn't like about their appearance to me. My mom was in a fitness competition, which I don't have a problem with, except it created a very unhealthy relationship with food and weight. She was constantly checking calories in front of us and restricting food, which she still does. She's always telling me how I can't eat a certain thing because I've already had enough sugar for the day, and if I ate too much, I would end up fat. Especially now, she's been insecure about her looks even though she's a healthy weight. She tells me how she wishes she was a size small and makes negative remarks about herself. I've always been naturally skinny, and so was my brother, and she often tells us how we're walking skeletons, yet tells me that I've put on a lot of food on my plate and there's no way I'll be able to eat all of that. She's also weighed me in front of the entire family multiple times before and compared my weight to different things and constantly guesses how much I weigh. She also doesn't really allow me to express negative emotions. She's never really talked to me about how she feels. Whenever I have any type of negative thing to say, including negative emotions, she would shut me off and tell me to think positively instead. I understand why she does that, but it's taught me that it's bad to show these emotions. Whenever I'm anxious about something, she tells me how I'm making the situation bigger than it should be and that I'm overreacting. There are so many other things I could say, but this post is already long enough. I do want to mention that I don't think my mom has ever had bad intentions and tried to do what is best for me and my brother. I have a hard time pointing out faults in the way she raised us because she's gone through a lot and I generally think she cares about us and would never want to hurt us. Okay, again, that's a lot. It's kind of a lot. Because, again, intentions do matter, right? Like, if you know someone has good intentions, it's already kind of worth a lot. But, and it's a big but, because if you're gonna be like this, or like the people in these stories in general, it's not gonna save the day just because you didn't have bad intentions, right? Like, if someone has bad intentions, it's very easy to say, honestly, go screw them. If you don't need them because you're like financially dependent on them or something, cut them off. It's not worth it. If someone has good intentions, it becomes a little bit harder to say that, because even though I do think that as an adult you should be more self-aware of how you're acting and how your actions or your words do affect other people, but still, it's a little bit harder to say, you know what, screw her, especially since you're still like, 15, like that's kind of tricky. But I think it's good that you're aware of how what she's saying is affecting you, because if you're not aware of it, you're just gonna like internalize it a whole lot more and get really insecure about your weight or your eating. And we don't want that. Like, we don't want to develop an eating disorder because of shit like this. We don't want that, you know? So being self-aware of it and realizing how what she's saying is kind of fucked up is a good sign in a way, because that means you realize that it's not write what she's saying. You know, because honestly, who does that? I don't know if I want to call it toxic, because maybe I've just seen so much worse stuff on the subreddit and in general, but it's definitely not a healthy thing to do. To berate your kids about food this much, or weigh them in front of families, or constantly point it out, and constantly like watch what they're eating and point out how other people look and like make negative comments about that. Because honestly, my dad was very much the same. Maybe not this intense, like he never weighed us in front of other people or anything, but the constantly watching what we're eating and being like, oh, are you sure you still like want to eat? Like, you need to watch it. Like, are you working out and stuff like that? Psst, don't do it. Literally, what the fuck? Like, encouraging your kids to eat healthy and eat balanced and be active is a good thing. But still, the way you do it matters, you know? So anyways, I'm not sure that was any kind of coherent answer to this story, but I'm gonna leave it at that. I need more coffee. It's very cold by now, but you know, that's okay. I hope you're hydrated too. If not, go drink something now. Go grab a snack or a meal if you haven't eaten anything in a while. Take some rest, and I will see you in 3 days. Maybe with something less frustrating, I'm not sure yet. Either way, see you in 3 days.